Yeah, hi everyone. Hey, this morning we're going to talk about the being state. I think it's one of the most important things that people in the West primarily don't know anything about. And many of us have learned meditation through a simple technique like using a mantra or uh, listening to or paying attention to our breath. And we learn to get into a very nice state of relaxation, and we can let go of our thoughts. And this is wonderful for our health. It lowers our blood pressure and our heart rate, and it has extensive benefits in a society that's filled with stress. But a lot of people drop out of meditation because they really don't have the tools by which to explore its full potential. The Vedas, that were written about 3,500 years ago by in India, have brought us a wonderful study of meditation, but more importantly, a science of the mind, how we can reach higher states of consciousness using using the Vedantic teachings. So I want to share some of that with you today, although I use a little different terminology. That earlier state I just talked about, where we get relaxed and we can give up our thoughts. And if you can hold that for 10 to 20 minutes, then you're really good to go on the meditation teaching we're going to go through today. By the way, that level of meditation I refer to as point consciousness. Now, the next step up from that is the being state, and we're going to expand our emotional base and our feelings so that we can get in tune with our higher selves and the universe. At our core, we are love and creativity. If you stripped away all the negative things we do, which is the negative polarization that we live out in a dualistic world, in this world, what you would have is just pure love, and that's what we would be. So we want to get into that higher vibration state because that is a state of universal consciousness, or existent consciousness is what I'm going to call it, and do call it throughout um, this and other video presentations. When we start when you begin to get into the being state, what this really does for you is open all kinds of doors to new experiences. And when I say it opens doors, um, one of the biggest things that we do in our lives is use our intention to acquire the things we want. It may be more knowledge about ourselves. That would be kind of on the spiritual side, or in this physical conscious reality, it might be acquiring more things, physical things that we need: a house, a car, um, those kinds of things. And so it can be used for that. But the deeper purpose, I think, that was implied by the ancients was that we use it to self-inquire, to understand who we are, to move toward awakening or even enlightenment. So we have to know things about ourselves. And so, in a nutshell, what the Vedic traditions taught us was that we are a mind body that is really an experience, a physical experience generator in this world. We have five senses. We go out, we have experiences. They're all recorded in our mind. And pretty soon there's a story that's behind those experiences. So those get committed to our memory. And as we rethink those stories, we understand, oh, there's something there I want to do. I have a desire to manifest something from that story. So maybe you saw a beautiful girl or boy that you wanted to get to know, and so that might be your desire. But it's endless. No matter what your desire is, you can manifest it. But the higher truths that we end up finding, we learn how to to explore ourselves. So we go through the mind body. We understand that's a generation process or a generator. And we have memories. From that memories, we generate desire. From desire, we form intentions to get those things. And then there's other much subtler things that we learn about ourselves and our mind. We explore our emotions. They're a big indicator of how we're getting along in life. If we're feeling great, well, we're having a good time. If we're not, we have to find out why in a lot of instances and fix the problem. We have imagination, which is really the higher realms of our intellect that we can reach from the being state, and in order to access parts of our brain we don't really even use in the waking state world. So ultimately, we can go back and apply all of these things to our life experiences and learn about ourselves. And as we begin to review our lives, that's called self-inquiry. Self-inquiry leads to self-realization. So we find out who we truly are underneath everything. We find out what it is we really want. We find out, uh, who am I? The questions all of us ask. What is my purpose? Why am I here? And and it's endless. You can ask any kind of question and get an answer to it. What happens after we die? Um, so those are the things we're going to get into. I hope you enjoyed this little primer, and then it's not too confusing for you. But if you can be in the point conscious state for 10 to 20 minutes, again, you should be ready to get started on this video. Thank you. Existence consciousness is the base from which the universe has arisen, and it's the life force that animates and illuminates every facet of everything in this world. So it's a big idea, but we're part of that, and we are that. We are consciousness ourselves. How you ultimately come to understand it, whether as a force of nature or a personal God, makes no real difference. And it doesn't make any difference whether you are in a religion or whether you worship it or not. It also does not make any difference or matter when it comes to assessing the higher stages of our consciousness. So we're pretty neutral there, and it's just how you come to learn and how you come to deal with this idea that there is a bigger consciousness force, and we are that, and it is us, and we just need to get in tune with it. That's what the being state's really all about. However, the expression of gratitude and humility and love, really for all things, we must get into that feeling, and it must be present in us to reach the being state. And that's the state that we get into before we go on with other parts of our meditation. So this is what we're going to rehearse and practice today. By getting into this state of love and really feeling it, it raises your vibration to be in alignment with existence consciousness vibration or vibratory state used to communicate with us. So this is a general description of the being state. You'll find your own nuances, and there's plenty of them that are very unique to each of us and tell us who we really are, inform us about things that we've never noticed about ourselves before. So it's important to be able to reach this state of love and gratitude for self-inquiry, effectively using our intention in the future, as we talked about earlier on, to manifest things and to explore all of those I am questions I mentioned in the opening video. By becoming familiar with it in meditation, your personal reality, the things that you experience personal, over time changes to become your personality. So your personal reality becomes your personality. And you begin to adopt this loving feeling more in your waking state. It just becomes who you are. And believe me, other people will notice. EC has been described esoterically as a positive energy or vibration, frequency, light, and the absolute. It is pure love at its core, and its motives are always influenced by this truth. It is one-dimensional in this regard. And the catch-all word for it, of course, is the end word, consciousness. We are that also, but we have another side to us, and those are the contrasts in this world. So the second dimension to us is, again, contrast, like up and down, or contrast, black and white, hot and cold. Our contrast to love is negative emotions. On the far end, it would be hate. But in between, there's a whole range of emotions, like dislike or anger, and those things that on their way to hate. So we have to really pay attention to our emotions. They tell us where we are in this world, both in a positive and a negative way. So on the negative emotions that are created by fear, and those come in the survival mind or the ego. They are the source for these thoughts in meditation. But we bypass the ego by connecting to the higher intellect in our minds directly, or our higher functioning states of consciousness during meditation. And if we can get to the being state, we really distance ourselves from them, because we raise our vibratory level, as I mentioned earlier, up to even a higher level than point consciousness. Knowledge and memories exist in the subconscious. The soul, and within the field of existence, or God consciousness, which we have access to, and we're going to harmonize with it. So we're going to talk about how we can access these other areas. Okay, now we're going to move on to beginning to think about the things that we have to do to get into the being state. So we're going to start with something you can do every day when you're not meditating, and we call that fostering. Fostering is a kind act, an easy way to create love for yourself and for others, and surround yourself with this feeling throughout the day. Simply involves reaching out to strangers and others whenever possible to lift them up in some way. Recognizing that the spirit in them is existence consciousness, which is experience in each one of us. It's experience in you. That's who you are. That's we're all one. There is a oneness to the universe, and that underlying field is existence consciousness. So if you can feel that love and practice that during the day, you can do that by lifting people up with just a kind word. If you see them in the grocery store, you might say hello, or have a thought about some food on the aisle, or something that just shows that you're warm and outgoing and that you're connecting with them on a spirit-to-spirit basis. Humor is always wonderful if you can find a quick-witted thing to say or notice about them, or even a nice thing to notice about them, and you say that, gee, that's a wonderful dress that you're wearing today. Where did you get that? Or some expression of care. Just one soul acknowledging another throughout the day. I've done it and do it all the time on my walks. I walk on streets that are typically kind of busy. And there are people, if you'll just engage with them, just look them in the eyes and say, hi, how are you today? It just totally brings them to life, and they respond with kindness and compassion, and in the same way that you're reaching out to them. So this is fostering. This is what you want to practice now. throughout the day, this begins setting the stage for using and advancing to the being state in our meditations. Okay, we're going to continue talking about fostering on this slide. Um, Focus on people that you love. Focus on things and experiences. You can go back to your to people you met on the street, but now let's begin to think about people that you love and throughout your life, whether they're alive or deceased, and think about moments of kindness, of love that you shared together, an experience that was beautiful. Now, um, take a moment, close your eyes, envision those people, and have it come to life for a moment. Have that experience come to life and feel it. You can be walking down the street and do this. You can do it in your car, not when you're driving, of course. You can do it while you're watching TV. It only takes a moment. Now, reach out to them and send them a blessing of gratitude and love for being in your life or having been in your life. And it only takes a moment, and then feel that experience. See how that sits with you and how you deal with it, because it will change things for you a little bit. It'll bring your meditation lessons to life as we get into this. This is one of the things we're going to talk about. So, done throughout the day, these little short blessings of people. Again, now you're fostering in a non-physical way, in a non-physical state. So this is what really starts making you powerful. And again, it'll bring fostering into your meditations in a way that, oh, I've already experienced that. I know what Frank's talking about here. It's what I felt today when I was sending my deceased grandmother a feeling of gratitude and love. Okay. To begin any meditation now, where we want to use self-inquiry, um, to use our intention to manifest something as your goal, or we want to review things and self-inquire a little bit, you'll figure out anything that you have a question for the universe, anything you want to get information on, you'll want to get into this state. So you need to first review things that you're truly grateful for, like we've been doing in the last couple of exercises, and that you can see that these have been gifts in your life. Now let's expand this just a little further. Let's pick out some things, perhaps your spouse, the love of a family member, or maybe it's your father or your mother or a child. Bring your, just prior to your meditation, begin thinking about them and have those warm and lovely feelings. Also, review the things in your life you've received that you're really grateful for that may not necessarily be related necessarily to an experience of love with another. The education you received and your parents made possible for you in some way, or you worked, or however you got it, it really doesn't make any difference how it came about, but that you received it and you're grateful for it. If you have gratitude for anything, the list is only limited by your imagination. And maybe the home you were able to purchase and the family you've been able to create. And any of these things can, by the way, in your future meditations can be used over and over as sort of like mantras. Once you have a feeling of love for someone, you can keep that feeling and just come back to it in future meditations. Same thing for things that you're grateful for. And here I'm talking about the things like your education or your house. But once you create a feeling, a genuine feeling of emotion and love, send it to EC. Just put it out into the universe or your God of choice, so whoever your go-to person is. Sometimes we have a guide out there that we go to, or sometimes we feel that it's our grandfather that's guiding us. And any place that you want to direct it, send it, release it into the universe for all to share. Okay, now you're preparing for your meditation, and you've just sent your blessing we talked about in the previous slide out into the universe, where you're experiencing or where you're expressing things you're grateful for. And now you want to move on to seeing people in your memories and let the emotions of special moments of loved ones enter. So we're going from things now that we're grateful for to people and loved ones, which we've been talking about. This should be already familiar to you. And when you begin recalling loving memories, you're reaching loved ones through your practice by envisioning moments of love and happiness you shared. If you use this technique to move yourself into the being state, sometimes deceased loved ones may appear in your mind's eye. This is always a beautiful thing when it happens. And you may even experience something new, a voice, an image, or any number of indications that you feel intuitively are coming from them, like they're responding to you. And again, this is always really nice too. This is a beautiful gift. Yes, they're out there, and yes, they are replying to you. Just feel it. Just go with it. Let it sink in for a moment, and then send them a blessing of love for coming, and continue on with your meditation. You'll develop skills so that you can reach out to them if you don't already have them in the future. And I will cover this with you in other meditations that we'll be doing. But this is the reason they're coming through is because they can now. You've raised your vibratory level to love and to be in harmony with all things in the field of consciousness. And even though they may be deceased, they're in the field. So you can connect with them and they can connect with you. The only thing getting in the way is your belief system. Do you believe they're there? If you don't think they are, you won't connect with them. I suggest in the early stages, everyone keep an open mind to this possibility. Go along with it, and if it works out for you, that's really wonderful. If it doesn't, that's okay too. It won't stop you from what you're doing here. So you can also focus on a pet you love dearly, and we'll get the same results. Pets survive in this afterlife. They're a very nice, beautiful memory, and they're a piece of consciousness out there, and they're romping through the heavens the same way we do after we leave here. So you can use the same images, like I told you in the last slide, over and over as mantras for your meditations. The key is to soak in the love on each one of these experiences before moving on. If you rush through this part of it, then when you get to wanting to use your intention to manifest something, or you want to use it for self-inquiry, or whatever you plan on doing, it won't be as readily available, or may not be at all. This is the being state. This is the thing that separates you from point consciousness. This is the thing that takes you to the next level. This is your breakthrough. Okay, now we're going to talk about learning to ask existence consciousness questions. Yeah, you can ask the whole field of existence consciousness anything. It's been here since the beginning. In fact, before the beginning, the whole universe arose in existence consciousness. So it knows everything that has ever happened, is happening now, and the probability of what's going to happen in the future. Probabilities are always a risky thing, even for EC, to try and predict, because we have free will and those change. But certainly what's been in the past and what's been in your past at your soul level, that information is available to you. So when I say it's at your soul level, your soul is a source of a collection source of data from all your past lives. If you ask a question of EC, it might just direct you back to your own soul, the history of your own soul. He might even direct you to your subconscious, which we have a lot of information we just don't even know about that we've acquired through our lives, but it's never really registered with us in the waking state, but it's deep in our subconscious, and we may have information there. So we get information from these three sources, from EC itself, from our own soul, and from deep at the subconscious level of information we're not aware of that we even possess. So EC will direct us to the right source to give us information that we're requesting. So you may explore a subject without asking questions. You might begin automatically receiving information, which sometimes happens because your thoughts are known by existence consciousness. While you're getting all set up and you've rehearsed these things as I'm instructing you to do, at least in the early stages until you get used to how this works. Write a few simple, short, direct questions out about what you're seeking. Make it so simple that your infant child could, or your toddler could almost understand. But that's for your purpose. You need to make things simple for your mind, not for ECs, but so that you are getting at the simpler it is, the more understandable it is for you. So make your short list of questions that you memorize. Later on, you won't need to do this. Now, if you automatically start receiving information, as I just mentioned, that's okay. Let EC give you everything it has before you get too focused on asking any questions you may have. This is very important. So use the rule of being a good listener whenever existence consciousness is providing information to you. Either when you ask a question or it comes in spontaneously. Focus on it. Put your attention on it. And this is inform an intention to put your attention on it. This is how important that is. So if the download has lots of information, and sometimes they do, you may want to meditate on it before asking EC questions. In other words, thank EC when you're completed, exit your meditation, and then in the next day or two, reflect on this episode and form your questions, and then re-engage, come back into another meditative session, get back into the being state, and just pick up where you left off. EC will know exactly where you are. It knows your mind. Your mind is its mind. Its mind is your mind. You just don't make yourself available to it. Okay, we'll go on. Okay, we talked a little about this before. Guides and deceased relatives may come through, but we're going to just cover it a little bit more in depth because it's so important. So below are some ideas in the body of this summary here to inquire about in your practice, but the possibilities are only limited by your imagination and desires. So I'm talking about any problems, any big decisions or choices you must make in your life. And almost everything we do, everything that we have an experience around seems to have force us to make an intention, especially those things related to survival, food, shelter, clothing, our jobs, which are, working to make a living to get all of those things. Everything in this world, this physical world where we have to survive, we have to make choices for. So sometimes those are really big choices, like who should I marry? Should we buy this house or that house? Should we move our parents in, our elderly parents in with us? I mean, the choices, and I mean I don't mean just big choices, but I'm referring to big choices here, are endless, and you'll be always confronted with them. So you want to be able to get into this state to make those decisions. So the other things are relationships. Maybe you're not getting along well with a spouse or a boyfriend or a girlfriend, or as a parent, our children aren't, we're not doing the job we think we should be doing, or we're whatever. Anytime there's family, there's a potential for a relationship issue that you can work on in this using this technique. Negative emotions that come up, you should make note throughout the day, just a mental note of anything that is a negative emotion, anything that makes you angry, anything that brings you to that place where you're feeling off a little bit. You don't like the way people are dealing with you, or any of those things. Those are all candidates to be looked at inside of your question answering here. So basically, anything you have an interest in, you can talk to EC about. The vast majority, if not all, of self-inquiry meditations will be direct question and answer sessions. But sometimes guides come through. Remember in the last slide, I told you that we're getting information from EC, from our subconscious, from our soul. And sometimes EC will direct a guide to come to us and help us through a problem. And there's lots of guides out there, and a lot of them rotate in and out of our lives, and they specialize in certain things. Don't discount this. They're a tremendous resource. So open your idea or your mind to the idea of guides. They bring very effective direction to your life. If EC sent them to you, there's a reason, and that's because they're great at what they do and can help you. So sometimes we're lucky and the guide is a deceased relative. We may know them, or a soul that we've had a long history with over many lifetimes, and they come. We may not know who it is exactly, but we feel that they're familiar, and you may have that experience. It may feel strange at first, but you can have a conversation with him as you might with anyone in your daily life. When you're in meditation, you don't have to talk out loud, or you can. But if you're having a conversation, listen, ask the question. When you ask the question, then be a good listener again. Close your mouth and be open to it. Don't be thinking about the next thing you want to ask a question about. Think about and focus on what's being told to you. That information is information you may have had already along the line and have never listened to. So if you don't listen to it now, you're reinforcing the same old problem. So part of this is being a good listener. So if you're new to self-inquiry, guides will often just reinforce the information you are getting without making themselves known. So they just kind of help in they're just a link in the chain of getting information to you. So all kinds of ways to get information. Keep an open mind to all of them, and they're all powerful. And again, EC isn't sending you somebody that's not capable of helping you. The only thing you have to worry about here is that you're not capable of listening. Okay, this is a quick recap. All important things to remember. Existence consciousness gives you the information you need in the form you need it as you make your journey inward to self-discovery. So it will pick out a form, whether it's giving information directly to you, whether it's coming from your unconscious, whether it's coming from your soul, whether it's coming through guides or others. EC will use visualization, a faint whisper, the spoken word, a feeling of intuition, an emotion that emerges that has special meaning for you. You might hear celestial music or even the Om sound are just some examples of the many, many, many ways that it may choose to communicate with you. Later in your practice, you may experience some of these other manifestations of EC's creativity that it knows will work for you once you have a baseline in your practice of receiving information. I hope this was helpful to you. I encourage you to give it a real thorough try. Not if it's not feeling comfortable once or twice, try it for a week. Try it for 2 weeks. Give yourself ample opportunity to make this work. And just keep an open mind to it. Let it come in. Even at the end of 2 weeks, you may not be a complete believer. Keep after it. I promise you this is the next major step in your practice. Okay, our time together is coming to an end, and I want to leave you with some quotes to ponder. I always find that words of others often support the messaging that I'm trying to get out, and it's because there's a lot of good minds thinking in the same direction. Mine might not be one of them, but there are some beautiful thoughts I want to share here with you. So, the discipline of gratitude is the explicit effort to acknowledge that all I am and have is given to me as a gift of love, a gift to be celebrated with joy. Henry Nouwen. The single greatest thing you can do to change your life today would be to start being grateful for what you have right now. And the more grateful you are, the more you get. Oprah Winfrey. When you are grateful, fear disappears and abundance appears. Tony Robbins. Saying thank you is more than good manners. It's good spirituality. Spirituality. My tongue is getting a little thick. Alfred Agache. Being deeply loved by someone gives you strength, whilst loving someone deeply gives you courage. Lao Tzu. I'm probably mispronouncing that. He was the writer of Taoism. So, where there is love, there's life. Mahatma Gandhi. Love makes your soul crawl out from under its hiding place. Zora Neale Hurston. The most amazing people are those who love themselves truly and love others endlessly. Unknown. The giving of love is an education in itself. Eleanor Roosevelt. Love all, trust a few, do wrong to none. The Dalai Lama. Okay, that's it for today's time together. Thank you for visiting and watching. I hope you enjoy this presentation as much as I've enjoyed sharing it with you.